Namaste and welcome to the channel My Truth, which is crystal clear. Today we are going to discuss on the topic Dalai Lama, India, China. And to discuss on this topic, we have our guest with us, Mr. Surya Parida. We look forward to hearing his reflection and thought on this topic. So welcome to the show.
Namaste.
Let us begin the topic. Tell us something about the Tibet and its history.
Oh, very nice. Let's start from Tibet. You see, Tibet is a landlocked country. It is also called roof of the world. It is the highest plateau, and it is lying in between India and China. It has a lot of significance for India. And when the Britishers were ruling us, the British always thought that Tibet should be the buffer between China and India, so that if China desires to attack India, it cannot do directly because there is some buffer state. So that is why from geopolitical scene of India-China, Tibet is very prominent. But what happened, slowly the whole scenario changed. But coming to this stage, I will go back around 2,500 years before even Buddha was born. Tibet was a clustered land with no population because of its high altitude, less population and nomads. And then around 2,500 years before, the chief of these tribes, they all merged and they formed a king. The first king who became in Tibet, he constituted everyone, and they had a religion called Bon, B-O-N, maybe Bon or Bon, something like that. I think it's tribal religion or something like that. And this continued up to around 33rd or 40 kings. This Bon religion and these kings, after another, kings were being elected and they were ruling the country. But they were not into this the present day administration like foreign affairs, currency, or administration, assembly, parliament, nothing. It was just like a king, like a nomad king, or what do you call it, tribal kings, just ruling his tribes, and going on in a very basic manner. It was the 20th king of Tibet who came across the scriptures of Buddha. And he got highly influenced by the philosophies and the teachings of Buddha. And he changed the religion from Bon to Buddhism. Buddhism is a religion of compassion. So their main deity is called Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara is the deity of Buddhism or Tibetan Buddhism. After that, the kings were considered to be the reincarnation of Avalokiteshvara. So therefore, they consider the kings to be the king of compassion. This was going on. The 33rd king, he made a palace for himself in Lhasa, which is called Potala. So that became the seat of power.
So, sir, who is Dalai Lama then?
China got influenced by the Buddhism philosophies of Buddha, and this king further, the Mongols also got influenced by the teachings of Buddhism by this king. His name Dogyal Phakpa in the 13th century, Christian century, 13th. This king became the religious teacher of Chinese emperor and also the Mongols. So why I'm telling you this background is that the Chinese also never thought Tibet to be a part of them, nor the Mongols also thought. They always took Tibet as to be a religious country, a spiritual country, which is giving them some teachings about the life and the compassion. The Mongol king, his name was Altan Khan in the year 1578. Altan Khan, he was so influenced, he gave this name Dalai Lama, which we are calling him. Till that time, they were known as kings. But Altan Khan gave this term Dalai Lama. These two words. Dalai is a Mongol word, which means ocean of knowledge. And Lama is Guru. So he said that you are the Guru with ocean of knowledge and wisdom. From that day, this terminology is being used for all the respective Dalai Lamas, the gurus. Lama means guru, a person who has a lot of knowledge. This Dalai Lamas had a way of selecting the new Dalai Lamas. So on the demise of the Dalai Lama, then there are other lamas, the highly educated lamas are the pandits of Buddhists. They are called as Rinpoches or lamas. The head was called as regent. Regent. They will, the regent will get some dream. Okay, we must go to this place to find the new Dalai Lama, or some high priest will get a dream. There are some spiritual lakes in Tibet. They used to go to the lakes, and there they go to see the images of or the hints for selecting the new Dalai Lama and find out the Dalai Lama. So this Dalai Lama, like this, they have been selected, and 13th Dalai Lama, after his death, this 14th Dalai Lama, the present Dalai Lama, was selected. On the 13th Dalai Lama's demise, the regent went to one of the holy lake and got the message that the next Dalai Lama is in this northeast this thing, and through this lake he could see a monastery, some monastery figure he found with some jaded roof, golden roof, and the village where he's staying has his house has jacket tiles. So he told to his pandits, the lamas, that go and search in northeast part of our country with such symbols and find out who is he. This is brief. I've given you a little bit brief of this thing. So my history about Tibet is Tibet was never a part of any other country. It was a sovereign country having its own culture, having its own way of doing things, and they were selecting their own Dalai Lamas. And this Dalai Lama was not only a spiritual leader, but the Mongols also made them the temporal leader. Temporal leader means one who has sovereign power, spiritual power, and the person who has all the administrative and all powers to run this country. So that means once the Dalai Lama had both spiritual power and temporal power, means he was the de facto ruler of his country under influence of no one. This present Dalai Lama, he was born in the year 1935 in a village called Tatskar. His name was Lamo Dhondrup. He was born as Lamo Dhondrup in a family of the mother had 16 children, but only six survived. He was the youngest. Once the 13th Dalai Lama died, and then they looked for a new Dalai Lama because the process which they have, they zeroed in on him. And how did they select him is also interesting. So once they got this signages from this lake, then they went and found out that monastery having that golden roof. Then they went to the village Tatskar, and they found this house with jacket tiles. This was the only house. So the search party went, the high lamas and everyone, and then they went to the house, and they stayed that we are all lamas, we are going to some place, and it is night, we would like to stay in your house. They stayed in the house, they disguised themselves, and they tried to observe the boy. It seems this boy, he went and sat in the lap of the main lama. And the main lama was carrying the rosary of the 13th Dalai Lama. He immediately liked that, and he asked that, give me this rosary. So this was a sign case. He is recognizing the 13th Dalai Lama. The walking stick, next day again, some of the people came, they came with the walking stick of Dalai Lama, the 13th Dalai Lama. And he immediately, there are two walking sticks. One was the original one was the duplicate one. He selected the original one. So like this, some 2-3 tests were done, and they found that he is recognizing all the features of Dalai Lama. And then they spoke to the family, and then they took the boy to Lhasa. There's something interesting in this, which I was reading this book by His Holiness Dalai Lama. The book is My Land, My People. In this, he has said that there is still some Chinese occupation of that area, northeast, and they had to go and request the Chinese governor that they're taking this boy to Lhasa. He demanded 100,000 Chinese dollars, which they had to make some arrangement and give. So through this also it shows that there is some fluid control of China in some parts of Tibet. Anyway, then the Lama was taken, and when they reached Lhasa, almost of 3 months of trekking, He was received by um, the British, that time because British government was there in India. So their representative, Nepal's king, Sikkim's king, Bhutan's king, even Chinese representative, they all had come to receive him because he was almost declared as the Dalai Lama, and they garlanded him and they blessed him and all those things. So through this, it is known that he was a separate power and Tibet was a separate country. So this is all I can say, that some parts of the country may have had some control of Chinese in a very fluid manner, but overall Tibet was an independent country.
How China came?
In the whole history of this 2,500 years, there is one dynasty, King dynasty, Q-U-I-N-G, which had some suzerainty over Tibet. So had some suzerainty control, means they were controlling some parts like foreign affairs and their communication or finance, but didn't have a proper control over the. It's an interesting question which you may be reading in the papers, that the China is saying that the Dalai Lama should be selected through golden urn method. So this king dynasty had started that the Dalai Lama has to be selected by putting, not by one, identifying one. You identify 4 or 5 Dalai Lamas, put their papers in this golden urn. It will be picked up by the government, and whose name comes, he becomes the Dalai Lama. But this process didn't continue for long. And around 1910, 1911, this king dynasty also became weak and they disintegrated, and the dynasty was dead. That is the time when Tibet threw away all these Chinese people who were in the country and again became a sovereign country. From 1912 to 1950, there was no occupation of China by whatsoever anyone since 1912 to 1950. But I feel Britishers have played some part in creating some confusion because they wanted to do this trade with Tibet. So they called Tibet but they dealt this with China, that we would like to do trade with Tibet, so let us have an agreement. Chinese agreed. They said they signed it, but Tibetans didn't agree. They said, no, who do not know who these Chinese people are. You can't do trade with us. They threw away all the British people from the country. Then Britishers fought with Tibet and Tibetans lost. But after that, there is an agreement signed between Britishers and the Tibetan people, and the country gave the rights of trading to Britishers. So it proves again that British and Tibet had to sign and not China had to sign. So that means Tibet was still an independent country maintaining its sovereignty. But again, British played some trick. I don't know if it's a trick or what it is, but they again called China to ratify this agreement. So Chinese again signed, okay, we have nothing against you both doing trade, so you both do whatever you want. Again, this also indicates that China never thought that Tibet is a part of us. Okay, so this was going on. Then Britishers always felt that Russia may come and conquer Tibet, because Russia is a very close neighbor to Tibet and Russia was expanding. So they had an agreement with Russia. Britishers, they told that let us not interfere with Tibet. Okay. And this was signed. And in this also they took a concurrence of the Chinese, that we have signed an agreement that we will not interfere in one subject. So why they're always involving Chinese, that I have failed to understand. Maybe some scholars can say, and maybe I have to do deep study. Dalai Lama was blessed by all these people, the Britishers, the Chinese, the Indians, Nepal, Sikkim, Bhutan, all came and blessed him and wished him all good luck. So Dalai Lama, at the age of that time, how much? He was 1913, 4 or 4.5 years old. He became the Dalai Lama of Tibet. But as per that, the Dalai Lama cannot rule immediately because he's 4 or 5 years old. So he has to almost 20 years goes till the time he attains maturity, when he becomes the ruler of the king. And in his absence, the parliament and the regent, they rule the country, Tibet.
So, sir, what happened after 1950 and how did China occupy Tibet?
It's a very interesting question. Well, what happened this from 48, 49, the communist movement of China, it took over China. Okay, so once the communists came to power in I think 1948 or 49 after India's independence, then they said that all the territories historically which were under China, will have to occupy them. So, because in King Dynasty there are some fluid situation of China ruling Tibet, so they said the Tibet is a part of us and it's called Southern China. Okay. Similarly, they also take Taiwan also to be a part of them. Okay. Hong Kong also to part of them. Britishers ruling. Once Britishers left, the Hong Kong also has become a part of China. So their theory is that those who were under our control will take them under our control now. And because of this philosophy, they in the year 1950 they entered into Tibet, and they forced the Tibetan government to sign an agreement with them. It is called 17-point agreement. Under that treaty, they came, and then the way they came and they massacred the people and settled in China, in Tibet, in Lhasa, it became very difficult for the Tibetan people to survive. But still, Dalai Lama had gone and met Mao in Lhasa, Mao in Beijing, or that time it was called Peking, and they had a good discussion, and he somehow managed to influence upon him that you let us be autonomous region within China, and let us practice our spirituality or religion, the way we function like that. Although it was agreed, but it was not signed. And when he came back to Lhasa, the things were same, and rather the torture of the people was increasing. Because of this, there was an uprising amongst the Tibetan people against China, and the Chinese army massacred them. And they wanted to also, I think, maybe arrest Dalai Lama. So one evening, the general invited Dalai Lama for a dance party. We were having a dance party, you have to join us, but told, don't come with anyone, come alone. So wherein all his advisors told him, okay, sir, don't go alone, it is time for you to flee. You save yourself, so then our Tibet will be saved. And on 17th March 1959, in the night hours, Dalai Lama with his people, his mother, his brother, and I think he's one of the prime ministers also, they all escaped to India. On 31st March 1959, they reached India in the border of Arunachal Pradesh and Tibet. Arunachal Pradesh was called Nepha those days. And there Nehru had sent a message to the government there to give him a grand welcome. He was received, he was taken to Tawang Monastery, where they were given stay, food, and they stayed for some days. Then they moved to Tejpur, and from Tejpur they moved to Mussoorie and stayed for some days, and finally they have shifted to Dharamshala, which is the Tibetan government in exile, which is going on till now. At the age of 24, Dalai Lama came to India. So, and after Dalai Lama came and their prime ministers had resigned, and so they dismantled their government, they dismantled everything, and they totally occupied Tibet. And since then,
So they are ruling on China, Tibet now.
Tibet. Yes. And they have changed the name. They were Xinjiang. They call Xizang Tibet. They don't call it Tibet. We call it Tibet. The world calls it Tibet, but they call it Xizang.
Okay.
So I'm hoping this Dalai Lama is hoping that China will have some good sense and give us their autonomy. At least let it be under China, but let them have their autonomy of their rule, their self-rule, their spirituality, their way of working. But that has not happened till now. In this, I can tell you one thing: America supported the Tibetan movement. In fact, in the year 1960-61, America was training Tibetan people to fight against China. They're supplying them arms, ammunition, everything. And they're training them in a place called Mustang in Nepal. There's a place called Mustang, which is bordering Tibet. There they're recruiting Tibetans and they're training them to go and fight against China. But China was too strong. These people couldn't match it. And America also slowly lost interest in the sense when a gentleman called Galbraith became the ambassador of India, he told not to do this because this will affect the Indo-China relations. And also, if some aircraft of America crashes in India, then the whole world will know that America is actually supporting Tibet, which will not be good. So let us not do it. So this movement stopped. America stopped supporting. And I understand there was secret agreement between Pandit Nehru and America to support Tibet, and that's why Nehru had allowed all the aircrafts flying from the skies of India to Tibet and to Nepal. They were using the bases in West Pakistan and East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh. So, so America did support, but then couldn't take it for long.
Okay. So now, as the discussion is going on to,
and in this also, I'd like to add, when the China conquered or came into Tibet forceful occupation, Dalai Lama did write to India, did write to UK, did write to USA also to help them. Did write to United Nations also, but no one helped them. Britishers said that we have already left India, we are no more in India, so we can't do much about it. India also said that try to have a peaceful negotiation in China. USA also said we are very far from your place and we can't do anything much about it. United Nations also didn't come with any fruitful answers. So none came to support Tibet. That's quite a sorry part of it. India had called all Asian nations to India to tell them that we have become an independent nation and we would like to carry on our relations with you all as it was going on. Tibet also was invited, and Tibet came with a delegation with Tibetan flag. So this all proves Tibet was never a part of China.
as the discussion is going on already, and Dalai Lama also declared that we have started the process of selecting another Dalai Lama. So, what do you think? Who will be and how the process of this choosing a Dalai Lama will be?
Well, that's also very interesting. Dalai Lama, as he turned 90 on 6th of July, he said that the time has come to select the new Dalai Lama. That he had said before reaching 90, but on the birthday, he said, I'll live for another 10, 20 years. I think till 120 years he'll live, he said. Nevertheless, he had said earlier that the Dalai Lama has to be chosen as per the accepted procedures of the Tibetan government. So that means the same way the regent or these people, the highly learned lamas, they will have to find out a new Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama also said that he has to be chosen from the free world, not from China. Okay, so so he can be mostly from India because the maximum Tibetans are living in India. So any place other than China is acceptable, provided he meets the requirements of their choosing. He formed a trust called Garden Fordrang. Now, what is Garden Fordrang? Garden Fordrang actually means the heavenly palace. Fordrang is palace, and garden means heaven. So this was a place inside his monastery from where he ruled Tibet. Drepang Monastery. He had this place called the place where he was to sit. He used to sit and rule, and that's called Garden Fordrang. So with that terminology, he made this trust called Garden Fordrang Trust, and he said this Garden Fordrang Trust will serve the new thing. And this Garden Fordrang Trust has all these lamas and the ministers and the prime ministers. All these people are their cabinet, so they will select the new thing. And ultimate head of this Fordrang is Garden Fordrang is Dalai Lama. So he'll have the final say. So this is what is procedure. But China has said immediately that the Dalai Lama has to be approved by the government of China, and they have to follow the golden urn process. So now it is very interesting to see what happens. As Dalai Lama said that I'll live for another 30, 40 years until 120. Maybe this selection of the Dalai Lama takes a back seat. I do not know what happened, but this is what is today's scenario, that if at all a Dalai Lama is selected, he'll be selected by Garden Food and Trust as far as His Holiness Dalai Lama is concerned. But as far as China is concerned, he will be selected by their procedures, which will be approved by Chinese government, and that will they'll select the Dalai Lama through golden urn lottery or selection process.
As I said, Dalai Lama is going to have this process of regular one, which they are using. And China is also saying that somebody should be there from their side. So, what is India saying in this statement?
That's another very interesting question. India so far is silent on this issue. But the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, Mr. Kiran Rijiju, who is also a Buddhist and from Arunachal Pradesh, while going to attend his birthday ceremony, he said that whatever is the wish of Dalai Lama, the next Dalai Lama will be selected as per his desire and as per his process. That means Garden Fodrang will select this thing, and the Dalai Lama has to be selected from any place which is free, not under anyone's occupation, especially not from China, which he meant. Immediately there was a reaction from China that speaking anything against the wishes of Chinese government on the selection of Dalai Lama will jeopardize the India-China relations. So they have said that. But after that, Prime Minister Modi has wished Dalai Lama on his birthday, saying that 1.4 billion people join me in wishing you a very happy birthday and may you be blessed with good health and long life and all those things. Officially, Government of India has not given any say on this. It is going to be very difficult. Suppose we toe the line of Dalai Lama, then our relation with China doesn't improve. It is on the stage of improving, but it will again go back to what it was. And even there's no guarantee that if we support don't support Dalai Lama, China will be nice to us. So we have to take a very calculated view, and it is a difficult process, very calculated process. So we have to wait and watch what the government does.
We had a very good discussion on this topic. Now, if you want to say something at the end of this episode, please.
I would like to say that Tibet has been a mystic land which nobody could understand. They are full into spiritualism. They have never fought. They never had an army. They never felt in violence. Very peace-loving people. Such people have been going through a treacherous part for the last 80, 90 years. They deserve something better. They deserve their homeland. At least they deserve to select their own reincarnation, their Dalai Lama. I'm sure the world will take a view on this and will support this. But I can add one thing here, that there will be two Dalai Lamas. China, in order to show to the world that they are a superpower, they will select their own Dalai Lama and tell to the world that he is the real Dalai Lama. Like they selected one Pancham Lama. Pancham Lama is the second in the hierarchy of learning. After Dalai Lama, then they select Pancham Lama. They also, when this Dalai Lama selected Pancham Lama, they also selected Pancham Lama. So there are two Pancham Lamas now. So similarly, there will be two Dalai Lamas. But I'm sure the world will follow this Dalai Lama, not the Chinese Dalai Lama.
I hope viewers have got a very nice idea on this topic. Next time again, we will coming with a very interesting topic. Next episode, we will see you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.